Welcome to our weekly look at Badgers recruiting across the board with Benjamin Wargo of BadgerNation.com. Ben, football team had a lot of guys in this weekend for the Illinois game, win on the field. Tell me if they made any progress with the guys that came in.
Well, obviously you get two guys on who are committed to other schools on official visits here. You're making progress in terms of recruiting, especially at two positions that Wisconsin badly needs a verbal commitment from, running back and quarterback. And to get Alex Collins up here from South Plantation High School in Miami is huge. He's a Miami commit, a soft verbal commit, meaning he's still looking at other schools. Obviously, if he was up here, he's also looking at Florida State. He's prep teammates with Soldier and Shelton, who was up here for the Northern Iowa game at the beginning of the year. Alex Collins is a 5-star running back by Fox Sports Next. He just got his 5th star, and he's a really, really talented player, probably one of the top running backs in the state of Florida. And he's been up here already. He came up on his own dime for the UW spring game in April. And to get a kid of his caliber on campus and to kind of maybe showcase the running game a little bit, especially in the fourth quarter. He said his visit was nice. He liked it. Obviously, he's got more time to go with his decision, but it's obviously a positive. And the other guy is Damon Mitchell. Nickname is Doo-Wop because of when he was young, sitting in his high chair, and his mom put on doo-wop music, and he started jamming along with it. So he's got a great nickname. He's committed to Georgia Tech. But he came down here this weekend and really kind of wanted to see what Wisconsin was all about. Thomas Hammock had been recruiting him for quite some time and just kind of convinced him to come here and see what the atmosphere was all about. No real word yet on how his visit went. We're hoping to have an update with him probably earlier midweek.
Now, the Badgers obviously have a long line of running back, good tradition there. 5-star? They had a 5-star in here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at where Wisconsin running backs have gotten the last couple of years. James White was a 3-star kid. Monte Ball was a 3-star kid. Melvin Gordon was a high 3-star kid. Vontae Jackson was a 4-star kid. So they've definitely recruited good running backs. But Alex Collins, 5-star out of Miami. I mean, that's a pretty big jump for Wisconsin to go. And it appears that Wisconsin is really high up there for him. I mean, this is already his second visit. His teammate, Soldier and Shelton, really likes Wisconsin, like I mentioned. John Franklin, a quarterback down in that area, too, is very good friends with both of them. He's looking at Wisconsin. There's a real core group of 5 guys. Those 3, Monte Nelson and Bose Joseph from Cypress Bay down there. Those 5 are really close. All have a Wisconsin offer except for Franklin, and all 5 have been really looking closely at Wisconsin since early in the process.
And Badgers obviously have done a good job of pulling guys out of Florida in recent years, so we'll track that with you. On the basketball side of things, the basketball team was featured out here and over at Badgerville before the game as the program of the game, and it sounds like they had all 4 of their recruits in as well to take in this game day experience, and it seems to be something they really like doing is showing people the 80,000 and getting them fired up about Badger sports in general, including basketball.
Yeah, unlike UW football, what UW basketball likes to do is usually they bring in all their official visitors at one time, especially the guys who are committed. They like to get all their commits to take their official visits on the same time. And during the basketball season, they'll have unofficial visitors in to kind of come see the campus, kind of prospective recruits. This year was a little different because Nigel Hayes, Toledo Whitmer High School, is another kid Wisconsin is looking at. He came earlier than these 4 guys, but these 4 guys obviously are going to be playing together for the next 4 or 5 years. Want to kind of cement that chemistry and that friendship. They had dinner at Bo Ryan's house, I'm told. Spent a lot of time with the players, played some basketball, and so, I mean, these guys are all going to be really close, and so that's what Wisconsin basketball likes to do. They can afford to do that because the recruiting classes are so small, and because usually with officials, they have to take them a little bit later, closer to National Signing Day, which is in November for basketball.
Big picture question for you here. The Badger hockey team's running into some trouble with Nick Cardillis, one of their star recruits, or the star recruit of the freshman class, in terms of use of social media, and that's come into become such a large thing in recruiting. You've kind of witnessed a lot of the back and forth online of what potential NCAA violations can be out there. What's the stuff that you see that kind of concerns you of where people may cross the line?
Well, I mean, haven't covered recruiting nearly as long as some other people, but just my short tenure, about 6-7 years, really studying recruiting. Facebook really was the first real big movement. Now Twitter has really taken it to a whole nother level, just because of how easy it is to follow someone else or to tweet back and forth, and especially with Nigel Hayes, like I mentioned, it's NCAA violation for boosters, for fans to kind of tweet at a player and to try to convince them to come to your school. I don't know how you try to regulate that. That's such a hard thing to try to kind of figure out, and so it's up to kind of the athlete or the recruit to kind of know what the rules are. But you see a lot of Minnesota fans, a lot of Wisconsin fans tweet at Nigel Hayes, try to sell him on what Minnesota or what Wisconsin has to to offer, kind of obviously dog what Minnesota, what Wisconsin has to offer. I saw a tweet that, Tubby Smith has a national championship. How many does Bo have? Nigel Hayes retweets that. And so, it's one of those things where it's prevalent now that, fans, the casual fan or the extreme fan can now tweet a recruit and try to convince him, positively for their school or negatively against the school they're recruiting against. It's really kind of changed how coaches have to approach things, how fans have to approach things, and it's really kind of a new interesting thing that's, I don't know how you're going to regulate something like that. I
was going to say, all they need to do is add another probably 300-400 pages to the NCAA rule book. I'm sure that'll solve it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the NCAA rule book is only, about 200 some pages to begin with, and It's just such an interesting coffee table book. I mean, whenever I go home, I always have a cup of coffee and I just flip on something on how you can the processes of tweeting recruits and different things like that. It's really become, in a word, it's become a little bizarre how social media has really taken this to a whole nother level.
Thanks for the update again this week. Join us next week and follow along on all recruiting news at BadgerNation.com.